Hello and welcome back everyone to this demo session on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In this live demo session today, we are going to look at what is SAP UI5 basics. This is our first session and the demo session of this 40-hour training on UI5. We are going to learn about what we expect in this next 40-hour course. We will discuss who is this training for and how can you avail this complete training program. In this session, we are also going to look at a small demo in SAP Business Application Studio tool to develop a very simple UI5 application. So let's get started. So let's understand what is our developer persona. What can you expect as a developer in this training? So if you are Andrew Shaw, who is working currently as a UX designer in a company, and would like to build not just on mockups, but want to now create a real productive UI5 application, this training is going to help you. If you are Larry, who's a technical advocate in the world of SAP, she's currently working in the industry as a UI consultant, maybe working on WebDinPro or BSP or Portal, and she would like to now become a UI developer with SAP UI5. This course is also going to help Larry. If you are John Peter, who's a fresher out of college and have no experience in building UI applications, yet aspire to become a SAP full stack developer, this will be the first starting point for Johannes for building his career in the world of SAP. Finally, if you are John Brown, who is an application developer already working as a ABAP consultant or portal consultant in a company, and now willing to build applications with SAP S4HANA and ECC, which are Fiori enabled, this course is also going to help you. Let's talk about the outlook of this training. This training is divided into 40 hours. It is designed to make you an expert in UI5 from the beginning. Let me tell you one important thing, that this training doesn't require any prior knowledge of web development technologies. So you could be a fresher out of college and you can learn how to build responsive web application using UI5 framework in this training. In the step number 1, we are going to start fundamentals of UI5 as a first step. You will learn about core concepts of web development, including HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. We will also set up our development tool, so-called Business Application Studio and VS Code. In step number 2, phase 2 of this training, we are going to learn UI5 fundamentals using software development kit given by SAP and also the Mvc architecture to build these applications. In the phase 3 of this training, you will learn how to develop Fiori user experience. So we'll see how to utilize the guidelines given by SAP to build Fiori apps, how to leverage the best practices to build Fiori applications using SAP mobile library with latest concepts like router, route match handler, manifest JSON, UI5 tooling, and Node.js. In the last step, we will learn OData development. We will build SAP NetWeaver gateway services to expose our ERP data and consume this data in SAP Fiori applications. We will be completing an end-to-end lifecycle of the Fiori app, including design, development, testing, deployment, and shipment, including maintenance of a Fiori app in a productive SAP system with productive data. This 40-hour training is designed for absolute beginner or ABAP developers who has never worked on UI5 and aspire to transform their dialog programs and WebDinPro programs to Fiori applications. So it's very, very specially designed for ABAP consultants who are working in industry and afraid of this web technologies. So we are going to cover all the basics of web for you. So let's see what we expect today in the demo. In the demo, we are going to launch our development tool, so-called SAP Business Application Studio in the first step or the first step. In the second phase, we are going to create a simple project inside this development tool, so-called Business Application Studio. In the step number 3, we are going to learn a very basics of MVC architecture and build a simple MVC based application. And the last step, we will test our application and finally run it and open the preview of our application into the browser. So let me quickly begin with the journey for starting our application into the development tool, so-called SAP Business Application Studio. So let me switch over to our development environment, which is SAP BTP trial. Today's demo session doesn't focus on how to set up a trial account or how to set up the BAS or Business Application Studio. Today's demo session is just to take you through the journey and what can you expect in my teaching methodology. In the coming class, which is our next class, we are going to learn setting up the development tool and comparison of different development tools in the market. So right now you can see I am on this SAP BTP trial account where I can start my Business Application Development Studio tool. So Business Application Studio, or BAS tool in short, is the state-of-the-art tool which runs on the browser, doesn't require any installation in your local computer. I have already configured this tool, but in our next class I'm going to show you all how can you get started with BAS tool for free. I will click now on my dev space. So a dev space is nothing but a virtual machine running in the BTP cloud so that you can store and save your projects on the internet. So I start a dev space. We will learn what is a dev space more in detail in next class. And we will also learn how to set up your BAS tool in the next session. So now you can see it is starting the development tool in my computer. And in few seconds, I should be able to see the dev tool. So this looks very similar to any other development tools you are familiar with. For example, SEAT, so-called ABAP development tool. So here on the left-hand side, you will see like SEAT, all the project artifacts. And on the right-hand side here, you will be able to see all the work which we do as a developer, like writing the source code. So it's very similar to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create now a very simple project over here, our first UI5 project over here. To be able to do that, I will just click on terminal, open a new terminal session. And here I will create mkdir, make a new directory, and I'll say UI5 demo. So I'll create a UI5 demo project. Yes, that's what we will do, and press enter. So in few seconds, you can see a UI5 demo file has been, or folder has been created. So this is our project, new project. Now, as a next step, what I will do is I will just add the file, our first starting file. So we will add a folder and a file. So we will add a web app folder. Web app stands for web application. This is a best practice to create Fiori applications in this BAS tool. We will also learn in this training best practices. And I will create a file to launch our project as index.html. So this is the file to launch our project in the system. Now in this file, we are going to start with a HTML file. So typically HTML5 file consists of a HTML document, and that has a header, which is the brain of the HTML, and the body, which is the actual content of the HTML file. So this is how exactly we create a HTML file in the system. So in the brain of the HTML, we are going to initialize SAP UI5. So let's talk about what is SAP UI5 in short. So now I'll come back and explain what is exactly SAP UI5 in short. Just create. So what is SAP UI5? So SAP UI5 is a framework. What is a framework? A framework is a collection of libraries. What is a library? A library is a collection of classes. And what is a class? A class is a collection of attributes, functions, events. Yes. That's what a class is. So basically, we are not reinventing the wheel again. We will utilize the framework which is already there and provided by SAP to build our application. In order to use this framework, we need to import this framework from somewhere. So what SAP does, they provide a address on the internet from where we can import this project in our import this framework in our project. To be able to do that, we switch over back and we will write here a script tag with src property. And here we will write the address where the framework is. So it is available at a particular place. So let me just end the script tag. So we have an ending tag, of course, and now we will say https SAP UI5.hana.ondemand.com /resources /SAP UI4JS. This is the address of the framework. Then the question comes, how do Anubhav know this address? So you all will be able to know that once I teach you in unit number 11, concept of UI5 SDK. So that's where we can go and check the documentation for all what we need to learn. Okay. So right now, just assume this is the place where the framework is present. You can also test this particular URL. So I can just grab this URL and I can just test this URL in a separate browser window. You can see it's loading something. We don't need to really care about what is it, but you can see it's loading. Then I need to load a library because it's a collection of library. So we say data SAP UI libs to load the library. And I will be using SAP mobile library along with data SAP UI theme. And we'll be loading a theme called SAP Fiori 3 dark theme to show a page, a web page with dark color, dark background color. Now we will also mention a classification property to basically color our entire body of the content in the SAP specific theming color. So we can use SAP UI body. We will learn about this classification property more in detail in unit 6 when I teach the CSS concept. But right now, just imagine that we are portraying our entire screen in a particular color. The color is the dark color, and that color will come because of this specification given by SAP for class name. Yeah. So this completes my loading of UI5 framework, and it's also called as bootstrapping. Okay. Interviewer asks, what is bootstrap? So it's a piece of code to start or load the UI5 framework in our project. The last thing which I need to also do is we need to specify that all my project files are present inside a folder called web app. Yeah. So I have to mention data SAP UI resource roots. And then I have to mention a address. So I will mention that my current working directory is going to be named as Anubhav. So this is an important setting which we need to do in order to mention to the system that this is a directory. My current working directory dot slash is going to be called as Anubhav from now on. So in this project, any file which I will reference with the name Anubhav as a starting point because a current working directory is web app. So we are just giving a pet name to our web app directory. So that is what it means. Yes. So any file which we create in this folder is going to be referencing with the name Anubhav now. So that is basically to give address to our files, unique address to our each files in the system. Make sense? So that completes the bootstrapping code. Our next step will be to actually load a view. Yes. Now what's a view? I will explain in a second, but let me just write a script tag again. And here I'm going to write a logic to load a view. So let me write var view SAP UI view. And I'm going to give the name of my view name. And I'll give the ID for the view or view tag. So we're going to load a view from the folder anubhav.main.view.xml. Yes. So I've just mentioned to the system that please load a view. Now, what is a view actually? Let's try to understand that on our slide. What is a view? So whenever we want to develop any web-based application, for example, Android or React or Angular, you will see typically we follow a architecture called MVC architecture. MVC stands for model, view, and controller. Yeah. So basically a view is nothing but a screen with which our user will interact. So our end user will interact with this screen. This is where the input output happens. On the view, you will put your UI elements, for example, a button. And when user click on the button, then a event will trigger. The code for this event is written inside the controller file. So controller is a place where we will write all the logic, all the business logic inside a function called event handler. Now, if there is a data which we need to access, the data needs to be accessed in another file or another location called model. So model is a place which keeps all the data. So this is the MVC architecture which we typically follow in most of the UI technologies which we use nowadays. Even if you worked on WebDynPro, we follow the same paradigm there. But that is not a prerequisite to learn this training. So now I'm trying to create a view, and this view is going to have the content like a button. So let's see that how to create a view. So the name of the view here is the main view. So let me create a main view file. I'll create a new file and name it as main. The view type is going to be an XML view. So the extension of the file should be .view.xml to be very precisely saying that it's a view. And now you can see system has generated a view. So I can now create the view actually. So what happens is this view is part of a library which is called MVC library, and we will just mention a view class. So this is the library and this is the class. So view itself is a class. So we just define a view now with MVC view library. So let's put that MVC view. And I need to explain to the view itself that what is MVC. So I will mention in namespace MVC equals to SAP UI core MVC. So this is a library. MVC is a library in which there is a class called view class. Yeah. That's what I do here in the system to mention the system that it's a view, right? So what will happen now? I will be able to add more libraries. For example, if you remember, we loaded a mobile library. I will be able to use that also. So let's define another namespace, which is default namespace in this case, and I will use SAP mobile library. So now inside this view, I can add my content very easily. So I will now use a button class. So if you remember, UI5 is a framework which is a collection of libraries, and the library is a collection of classes. So we will use a button class now. So I will use a button class with a text property, click me, and then I will also use a press. So on click. So this is the event I was talking. So whenever somebody click the button, what should happen? That's on click event. And we end this over here. Those who are new to XML world, don't worry. We have a dedicated unit number 14, where I'm going to expend a lot of time on what is XML. But for time being, let's understand that we just created a screen. Yes. So you might be absolutely new to XML world or GS world. Don't worry. These are all the basics which we will cover. Today is a demo. So just wanted to cover one simple end-to-end use case. Then I will also add a image here with source of the image and also visible equals to false. So by default, this image is going to be invisible, and I will also have ID for this image, ID img. So just we have got two controls. One is a button and one is an image. Let's put the source of the image. So to get the source, I will just get a Mickey Mouse cartoon. So I'm going to get Mickey Mouse photo. So let's get a Mickey Mouse photo from here. So we can just search. Lots of photos are there actually. I'm just going to get one Mickey Mouse photo. Yes, looks good. So let's copy this image address and we switch over back to put the address. Perfect. So that completes my view, my screen, but hold on. Still, I'm missing the controller where I'm going to write the logic when somebody click the button. So when somebody click the button, this image is what we're going to show again on the screen when you start. So we need to specify who's the controller. So we need to mention a controller name. You can see the code completion is helping me in the business application studio, and I say Anubhav is the folder in which there is a controller called name main. So let's create a controller file also. So I'm going to go and create a controller file called main.controller. And this is the extension of the file for controller. So you will understand what is JS, so-called JavaScript. Remember, this training doesn't require any Java knowledge. You just need JavaScript, and I will also teach what is JavaScript. So controller is like a class. So in any programming language, you define a class with the class name, right? Similarly, there is a certain way you define a class here as well. It's called SAP UI define. This is how we define a class, and the class will use other classes. So those dependencies will come inside this bracket, and then we will have a definition for class function. So this is how we create a class in UI5. Yeah, this is also known as AMD like syntax or scaffolding syntax. We're going to spend 2 hours or 2 sessions completely on this topic. Next, we are going to add a dependency here called SAP UI core MVC controller. This is, since this class is a controller class, this is a dependency I must have to add to mark this class as a special class called controller class. So this function should now return a controller class with its complete address again. Yes, that's what we have to do. And this is the definition now, a controller class. So first we create a class, then we add a dependency, which is given by SAP, and then we make it as a controller class. Next step is to go ahead and write logic inside. So if you remember, we are calling on click. So let's write on click event here. This is the event handler for the click event. So when somebody click on the button, this is the code which will get called. So in this code, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this image element. Its ID is ID img, and I will say this dot get view. Please get me the view object, and then get the object of the image control and make the image visible. So there is a visible property, hence there is a visible function, set visible function. So we will call this function to make the image visible. So if you are too overwhelmed by this lecture or this topic, don't worry. This is all we're going to cover in unit number 14, 15, 16, and 17. So 4 units only on this block of code we're going to spend time to understand in and out. Okay, so that is my controller. So now we have got a HTML file, which is the starting point for app, which is what creates a view object. A view calls a controller, and a controller has the code to open and show the image which is hidden. The last thing is this view will not be visible to the user until it's kept in the body. So we will create an element in the body with an ID, let's say content, and we're going to place this view inside this content element. Actually, that's what we're going to do. So let me add this element. And now I'm going to go back and write a logic to place my view. Please place my view inside this content area. So I have to pass object of content. So this is what I will now do. And I guess that completes the development for our project. So at the last step now, what we will do is test this application. So let's right click and open with a preview. And you can see it is starting my UI5 app. Wow, nice. You got a button. And when you click the button, whoa, cool. So it brings the Mickey Mouse. Yes. So that's our very, very simple demo session on the system demo with Business Application Studio with a simple UI5 application. Uh, I know for some of you it is very hard to understand this small piece of code I've written because We need to really work hard on the background and the fundamentals of the UI5 to make you comfortable till this level. So that's something which is my promise. I will make sure that I'll do that, and each one of you go out of this training with a great knowledge on UI5. So let me start with some of the frequently asked questions. So you can see these are some of the questions. So what will be the duration of this training? The duration of this training will be 40 hours. There is no prerequisite for this training. Just need to have basic programming skills. Yes, that's all you need to need. No. Second is the timing of this training doesn't suit me. So can I go with video mode? Yes, certainly. You can go with also the most recently recorded video based training and ask your questions over the email if the timing doesn't suit you. Or you can opt for the current batch, don't join the classes and let you learn only from the video. So every class which we conduct here, it will get recorded and you will get the recording of the class right after the session. You can also learn through the videos. So those who want to fast track their learning, they have an urgent project need, they can also start with video mode training. What tools are we going to use in this training and how do we get them? So we will use Business Application Studio and VS Code tool. And we will be utilizing our next session to set up these tools. So you all will be able to set up and get started with the development for these tools. What about the server access for Odata? The Odata is an important topic, which is what help us to get data from real SAP system, and it will be only required in the last 10 classes. So I will be guiding you through the journey of how do you fetch the data from Odata with a real server. Make sure if you don't have a server access, we will be also guiding you how to set up your own server for the connectivity with the Odata. So don't worry if you don't have a server, we will guide you in the class number 21. Okay, so will we cover the real-time scenarios in this training? Yes, we will develop a complete end-to-end real productive application where we will develop consuming with real SAP data from S4HANA or ECC. We will also deploy and deliver this app to production system. I am new to UI5. Can I learn? Yes, certainly you can learn. This training is designed for a fresher who don't know anything. We will cover all the basic concepts of web development like HTML, CSS, JavaScript and all. If I miss a class, how do I refer? So every class is going to get recorded. You can watch the recording of the class once the class is complete. So you can also watch and learn through the videos. What is the process to enroll this training? Very important question. The process is very simple. Just drop us an email on contact@anubhavtrainings.com to join this training, or you can visit anubhavtrainings.com/FAQs for some of the most frequently asked questions by many of you. Having said that, that's the end of this demo. Thank you so much once again taking your time today for this demo session. Please let us know your thoughts about the demo. And we hope to see you in the next class, which is planned tomorrow for the SAP UI5 session. And we will talk about how to set up our development tool in the next class. You can drop us an email on contact@anubhavtrainings.com to sign up for this training. With that, Anubhav signing out. Thank you so much for joining the class today. Have a nice day and goodbye.